All right, so you ready to get deep into this plastic thing?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah.
You've sent over a ton of stuff.
Yeah, you really went all out. I was impressed with all the research.
It's one thing to just read a few headlines.
Right, you want to really know what's what.
Exactly. And understand why it even matters.
Totally. So no matter why you're here, like getting ready for a presentation or
Maybe just trying to be a little better to the planet.
yeah, or maybe you're just like me and kind of freaked out by all the plastic everywhere.
We're going to help you figure it all out.
That's the plan. And honestly, I learned some pretty crazy stuff going through all this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, did you know there's literally a plastic island in the Pacific Ocean?
I think I read something about that, yeah.
It's twice the size of Texas.
No way! Seriously?
And get this, it's actually like changing ocean currents.
Whoa.
Pretty wild, right?
That's intense.
And then there's the whole microplastics thing.
Ugh, yeah, that's the part I'm not looking forward to.
They're finding it in human blood now.
Microplastics in our blood. Okay, we're definitely getting to that.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay.
Good to know we're covering that.
But I think a good place to start is that,
Yeah.
when we talk about plastic, we think of it as like one thing.
Right, right.
But it's not. There are actually 7 main types,
Oh, interesting.
and they all have different properties and uses.
So, like, the plastic in a milk jug is different from the plastic in my phone case?
Exactly. So like polyethylene terephthalate, you know what that is?
Ah.
PET. That's what your water bottles are made of.
Oh, okay.
It's strong and clear, good for liquids, but
But,
it takes forever to break down in the environment.
like, a really long time.
Oh, yeah. And then there's HDPE, high-density polyethylene.
Okay.
That's your milk jugs and detergent bottles and stuff.
Gotcha.
Super durable, great for reusing.
But but again, I bet.
It can take hundreds of years to decompose.
So even if we recycle it, it's still hanging around.
Pretty much, yeah. And here's the crazy thing. Every piece of plastic ever made, it's still here somewhere on Earth.
Whoa.
It doesn't go away. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces.
And ends up in landfills in the ocean.
And in animals.
Oh, gosh, yeah, and in us.
Right.
That's scary. Okay, I'm already feeling kind of overwhelmed.
I know, it's a lot.
Yeah. So we've got overflowing landfills, plastic in the ocean. I've seen those pictures. The sea turtles with the plastic rings.
It's awful. Yeah, it's happening on a huge scale, millions of tons of plastic.
Millions of tons.
Every year.
Are you serious?
Ending up in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's affecting marine life in terrible ways.
Yeah, so back to that plastic island, you said it's twice the size of Texas.
Twice the size.
I can't even imagine.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch, they call it.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that name.
It's really a symbol of just how much plastic we're using.
And it's not just ugly. You said it's changing ocean currents.
Yeah, and disrupting whole ecosystems.
Wow. I really had no idea it was that bad.
Yeah, and that's just what we can see.
Right.
There's a whole other level of plastic pollution we don't even see.
The microplastics?
Yep. Tiny pieces less than 5 millimeters.
Okay, so tiny.
They come from bigger plastic breaking down, but also from things like
Like what?
synthetic clothing fibers
Really?
and microbeads and cosmetics, stuff like that.
So they're in the water, they're in the air.
They're in our food.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is getting a little too real for me.
It's pretty freaky, right?
Yeah.
And, they're finding it in human blood now.
Yeah, we talked about that. Even in placentas.
Yeah.
What? That's terrifying. What does that even mean?
Honestly. We don't really know.
Uh-oh.
We're all part of this giant experiment on what microplastics do to us long term.
And we have no idea what the results will be.
That's the scary part.
Okay, so plastic is everywhere. It's harming wildlife, and it could be hurting us too.
It's not a good situation.
No, it's really not. So whose fault is this? Like, is it the companies making all this plastic?
That's a good question, but it's not a simple answer.
I figured.
It's easy to point fingers, but it's more complicated than that.
So it's not just on the corporations.
I mean, governments are trying to do stuff, like banning single-use plastics.
Right.
But it's tough. There's a lot of pushback from powerful industries.
Yeah, I bet. And some of those bans seem kind of useless anyway.
Right. Like they have all these loopholes.
And then there's the whole greenwashing thing.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Companies trying to make it look like they're eco-friendly.
Right, but they're really not.
Exactly. They slap a biodegradable label on something.
And it turns out you need some special industrial compost to break it down.
Right. Like who has that?
Not me.
Yeah.
And all the while, they're still churning out tons of plastic packaging.
It's frustrating for sure.
So what are we supposed to do? Like, does anything we do even matter?
That's where things get interesting. It's easy to feel powerless, but our choices actually do have an impact.
Really?
Yeah, like when you bring your own bag to the store instead of using plastic,
Right.
or when you say no to a straw, or bring your own coffee cup.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
sending a message to these companies.
That we want something different.
Exactly. You're
Mm.
showing them there is a demand for sustainable options.
So if enough people do it, it can actually force them to change.
That's the idea. And it's not just about what we buy. We
Oh.
can also vote for policies that restrict plastic,
Yes.
hold corporations accountable.
Right.
We can push for better waste management systems.
So it's not hopeless.
Not at all.
Okay, good. Because I was starting to lose hope there.
We're not totally powerless. What we do matters.
Okay, I like hearing that. But individual action can only go so far, right?
You're right. We need bigger systemic changes to really solve this.
So what can we do about that? Are there any actual solutions out there?
Well, there's some really interesting things happening right now.
Like what?
There's a lot of research into biodegradable plastics and alternative materials.
Yeah, you mentioned those in the stuff you sent. Are those actually legit?
Some are more promising than others, like biodegradable plastics have potential,
Right.
but they often need very specific conditions to actually break down.
Like that industrial compost thing again?
Exactly. But then there are things like seaweed,
Seaweed, yeah.
and they're making packaging out of it.
Wow.
And there's mycelium, that's the root system of mushrooms.
Okay.
They're making building materials out of that, even clothes.
Really? Wow, that's incredible. So we might not need plastic at all in the future.
That's the hope. It's an exciting time for innovation. There are a lot of possibilities.
That does give me some hope. But even if we find replacements for all the plastic,
Yeah,
what about all the plastic that's already out there?
that's where recycling and waste management come in.
And those systems aren't exactly perfect right now.
Definitely not. Most plastic doesn't actually get recycled.
I always feel like I'm doing it wrong anyway. The rules are so confusing.
Yeah, no,
Like what can actually go in the bin?
it's different everywhere you go.
Exactly.
Right.
So annoying. But are there any solutions for that?
There are some cool things in the works.
Like what?
Some companies are developing chemical recycling.
What is that?
It breaks down even the hardest to recycle plastics
Oh, wow.
back into their basic building blocks.
So you can make new plastic out of old plastic.
Exactly. It could totally change how we recycle.
Okay, that's a good one. But what about all the plastic that's already polluting the environment?
There are a lot of people working on cleaning that up.
Like those videos of people pulling plastic out of the ocean?
Yeah,
It's amazing, but also so sad.
I know, but every piece they remove makes a difference.
It does.
And we can all do our part too, you know?
Like how?
Picking up litter, doing beach cleanups.
Supporting those organizations doing the big cleanups.
Right. It all adds up.
So it's not a lost cause.
Not at all. We can turn this thing around.
I'm glad to hear that. But, not everyone is on board with this whole sustainability thing, right?
Yeah, that's true. Some people just don't care.
Or they deny the problem even exists.
Yeah.
What do we do about that?
We can't force people to care,
Sure.
but we can talk to them.
Even if they disagree with us.
Yeah. We can have open conversations, share the facts, maybe appeal to their sense of responsibility for the planet.
Right, right. And sometimes it's about baby steps.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Not everyone's going to go zero waste overnight,
Totally. Just start with small changes.
like reusable bags or a refillable water bottle.
Exactly. That's manageable.
And sometimes that's all it takes to get someone started.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah. Once you start making changes,
You realize it's not that hard.
and it feels good
It does.
as you keep going.
And pretty soon you're like a sustainability pro.
Right?
Okay, well, I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot better about this whole plastic thing now.
Good.
We started out pretty doom and gloom,
We did.
but it sounds like there's actually a lot of hope.
There is.
We just gotta keep working at it.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more on the plastic problem and what we can do about it.
It really is amazing how much the conversation has changed.
Yeah, I remember when it was all about doom and gloom.
Right. Like we're all doomed.
Yeah, but now it feels like people are actually doing something.
Totally. It's way more solution focused now.
And it's not just like individuals making changes.
It's governments, businesses.
There's so much innovation happening.
Yeah, it's really cool to see.
It's like everyone's waking up and realizing
Yeah.
we can't just keep trashing the planet.
Exactly. We have to be smarter about it.
Speaking of innovation, did you see that thing about
Oh, yeah.
plastic eating enzymes?
Those are wild.
I know, it sounds like something out of a movie.
It does. But they're real.
Scientists are actually doing that.
Yeah. They've discovered these enzymes
Yeah,
that can break down certain plastic
really.
way faster than anything else.
So, like, how does that even work?
They're like biological catalysts.
Okay.
They break the bonds in the plastic.
The chemical bonds?
Yep, they turn it back into its basic building blocks.
So instead of plastic taking like 1,000 years to decompose,
Right.
it could happen in like a few weeks.
Exactly. Isn't
Huh.
that crazy?
That's insane. And then you can use those building blocks.
to make new plastic.
So it's like a closed loop.
Yeah, you're not creating new plastic
You're just reusing the old stuff.
over and over again.
That's awesome. But it can't be that easy, right?
Well, of course, there are still some challenges.
Yeah, I think
It's still pretty new technology.
so. It doesn't work on all plastics.
Not yet, but they're working on it.
And it's probably super expensive right now.
Yeah, they got to figure out how to scale it up.
Make it affordable.
Exactly.
So it's not a perfect solution yet.
Not yet, but it has a lot of potential.
It does, and it fits into that whole circular economy idea, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. That's all about
What was it again?
keeping materials in use for as long as possible,
Right.
eliminating waste.
So these enzymes could be a big part of that?
I think so, yeah. It can change everything.
It's like we're not just cleaning up the mess.
Right.
We're actually redesigning the whole system.
To be more sustainable from the beginning.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
It's not just about plastic either.
It's about everything, right?
All materials. We got to rethink how we use them.
Like thinking about durability and repairability.
And recyclability.
Yeah.
Designing products with the end in mind.
That's smart. It's like we're shifting from this
Yeah.
throwaway culture.
To a culture of resourcefulness.
That's a great way to put it. And it seems like that shift is already happening.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely gaining momentum.
Companies are getting on board, governments are making changes.
And consumers are demanding better options.
It's a pretty exciting time to be alive, actually.
It is. There's so much potential.
And it's not just about saving the planet, it's about
Yeah.
creating new opportunities,
Totally.
new jobs, new technologies
A more sustainable economy.
for everyone.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Okay. I'm really feeling inspired now. We started this deep dive,
Yeah.
feeling pretty overwhelmed by the whole plastic problem,
We did.
but we've uncovered so much hope.
There's definitely hope.
And it's not just about what we do as individuals, it's about
Collective action.
working together, sharing knowledge, supporting each other.
We're all in this together.
That's a good reminder. So to our listener, we want to say,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to dive deep into these issues.
Ask questions.
Get involved.
Every action matters.
Even the small ones,
Yep. We can create a better future.
where plastic pollution is a thing of the past.
That's the goal.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of plastic.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new, felt inspired, and are ready to take action.
Let's do this. It's pretty amazing how much things have changed, even just in the last few years.
Right, it's like the whole world is finally waking up to this plastic problem.
Yeah, there's definitely a new sense of urgency.
And a lot more focus on solutions, which I like.
Me too. It's not just doom and gloom anymore.
It's like, okay, we get it. Plastic is bad.
Right.
Now what are we going to do about it?
Exactly. And there are some really cool ideas out there.
Speaking of cool ideas, remember those plastic-eating enzymes?
Oh, yeah, those are wild. Like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know. But their real scientists are actually using them.
It's amazing, right? These enzymes can actually break down certain types of plastic.
So how does that work? Do they, like, eat the plastic?
It's more like they're breaking the bonds in the plastic polymers.
The chemical bond?
Turning it back into its basic building blocks.
So instead of taking hundreds of years to decompose,
Right.
it could happen in, like, a matter of weeks.
Exactly. Pretty incredible, huh?
That's insane. And then what? You can use those building blocks to make new plastic.
That's the idea. It's a closed-loop system.
Wow. So you're not creating any new plastic, you're just reusing the old stuff.
Over and over again.
That's amazing. Okay, I know it's probably not that simple though, right?
Well, there are still some challenges. The technology is still pretty new.
So it doesn't work on all types of plastic yet.
Not yet, but they're working on it.
And it's probably expensive too, right?
Yeah. They need to figure out how to scale it up and make it cost-effective.
Okay, so it's not a magic bullet, but it's a good start.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It has a lot of potential.
And it ties into that whole circular economy thing we talked about.
Totally. Remember, that's all about keeping materials in use.
Right, for as long as possible.
Designing products with the end in mind.
So these enzymes could be a big part of that.
I think so, yeah. It could revolutionize how we deal with plastic waste.
It's like we're not just cleaning up the mess we made.
Right.
We're actually redesigning the whole system to be more sustainable.
Exactly. And it's not just about plastic. It's about everything.
All materials, right.
Yeah. We need to rethink how we use and reuse everything.
So instead of just throwing things away,
We're thinking about how to keep them in circulation,
it's like shifting from a culture of disposability.
to a culture of resourcefulness.
That's a great way to put it. And you know what? It seems like that shift is already happening.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's gaining momentum.
I see it everywhere. Companies are changing their practices.
Governments are investing in new technologies.
And people are demanding more sustainable products.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, actually.
It is. It feels like we're on the cusp of something really big.
I agree. And it's not just about saving the planet. It's about creating new opportunities.
Right. New jobs, new technologies, a more equitable economy for everyone.
Exactly. It's about creating a better future for all of us.
Okay. I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about this whole thing now.
Me too.
We started this deep dive feeling pretty overwhelmed.
There's a lot of information to process.
It was! But you
Uh,
know what? I'm actually feeling really hopeful now.
Me too. There's a lot of work to do, but we can do this.
We can. And it's not just on us, it's a collective effort.
Exactly. We need everyone on board.
So to our listener, we want to leave you with this.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep asking questions, keep pushing for change.
Don't be afraid to get involved,
Because every action matters.
no matter how small.
Together, we can create a future where plastic pollution is a thing of the past.
That's what we're aiming for.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of plastic.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new, felt inspired, and are ready to take action.
Let's make a difference.